Morning everyone. I thought this week I would chat about helping dogs to meet each other. I get lots of questions about I've got a new puppy and I was wondering about how I could introduce them to my older dog. Maybe the older dog is arthritic, a little bit grumpy, maybe they're really bouncy older dog, and people get quite worried about how they're going to introduce new members of the pack. Now if we watch wild dogs or dogs when they're left to themselves, it's really quite a complicated and intricate and interesting process. So it's done through verbalization and through non-verbal cues. So typically, if we watched a young dog approach an older dog out in the wild, the young dog would circle around, they'd have a low carriage, perhaps they'd roll on their back, there'd be a little bit of lip curling to show submission, and as soon as the other dog came over, they would tend to roll on the back. I'm talking specifically about puppies now. And essentially what they're trying to say is, look, I'm no threat, I'm just trying to interact with you and start to build some of those social bonds. And that's something that we've got to try and replicate. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, we try and anthropomorphize them. We treat them like people rather than like dogs, and we can kind of try to force them together a little bit too much, and that can result in stress and poor reactions, and that can then give rise to problems going on. So how do I personally introduce new dogs? I rescue dogs occasionally, and they can have their issues, and that can be even more tricky than introducing a new puppy. So how do we go about introducing dogs together? Well, I think the first thing I would go for is lots and lots of space. So out in the field is perfect. So what I would do is I would ask perhaps Angela, or I would take our dogs that walk together as a pack, and then the new dog would come along. And first of all, I would probably give them a little bit of space. So walk the new dog at a bit of distance away, so there's no kind of interaction. Everyone's on the leads, but essentially they can see each other, they can smell each other. There is a little bit of non-physical communication. The next thing I would do is bring the dogs closer together. And I think that the 3-second rule is absolutely fantastic. So basically you would bring the dogs in together, 1, 2, 3, walk them away again. Okay, now what that does, it's called approach and retreat. So you are bringing the stress up a little bit and then you're taking it away again. You've got to be watching the body language continually whilst this is happening. So if you notice them, they start to get the big eyes, or the lip starts to come up in an aggressive manner. So I shall try and imitate it now. So an aggressive manner is, whereas the submissive kind of smiling is more a sort of look. If you see any signs of aggression or negative reactions, you almost need to get them away a little bit more quickly. I think treats are really, really good as well. There's distraction, but I would never use the treats whilst the dogs are interacting. So it would be sort of in 1, 2, 3. Good boy, good girl. Okay, off we go. And we give them a little bit of treats and let the energy start to come down out of the situation. Okay. Once I was happy that there was going to be no physical negative interaction, so no biting or no dog being excessively dominant over the other, I'll probably let them off the lead together, just have a little bit of play around, and they can then start to basically use their own sort of inbuilt innate socialization cues. So you'll notice that they will approach together, they will come apart, back together, apart, etc., etc. Now I guess one of the more tricky aspects is, what do you do if one of the dogs is really oversocial? So perhaps you've got an older dog, like say with arthritis, and you've got a younger dog that has got maybe it's not been socialized properly, you've rescued it, and it's constantly at the older dog the whole time. What can you do in these cases? An over-exuberant dog can be tricky, and I would always say that if they are looking if you're struggling with them, then I think a conversation with a behaviourist can help. But essentially, again, you're looking to take the energy out of the situation. So I would try and keep them at a physical distance. So I'd have them on a long line. And what I would be trying to do is teach them that interaction with the other dogs doesn't mean barging, jumping up, trying to get on top of other dogs, that sort of thing. It would be more trying to teach them that when you see that other dog, actually the appropriate reaction is to be calm, maybe even get them to focus on you a little bit. Ultimately, some dogs, especially rescue dogs, which have had poor interactions in the past or haven't been socialised properly, can have lifelong issues which can be really problematical to deal with. And in those cases, maybe there's dogs that would be better on their own or with a human pack. And there is the sort of yellow bandana scheme, which means give my dog some space if they're wearing any kind of yellow ribbon or yellow collar or yellow jacket. I think it's absolutely fantastic scheme. But I would say that if you do have a dog which is problematical, then a conversation with a dog behaviourist is a really good thing to do. So essentially, introducing dogs, it's all about keeping the energy low, keeping the safety high, doing it in a slow, controlled environment where they can, essentially, they've always got that space each of the dogs has got a little bit of space to retreat into and avoid it escalating into a conflict situation. Hope this helps. Any questions? Pop them in the comments below. Bye.